Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have an interesting topic, the fear of marriage. Yeah, let's talk. All right, so I have a lovely guest with me. Marley is here. Marley, welcome to the channel.
Thank you so much for having me.
So good to have you.
Yeah.
Now, me and Marley have been talking, on Instagram. I keep sharing a few things on, stories, and people are like, they fear marriage. There's a whole fear of marriage. And I thought, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So before we start, just tell them who you are and how long have you been married? Have you feared marriage before? What's your story?
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Hi. So my name is Marley Keshamaza Kweka, and I do many things. I actually really sometimes don't like introducing myself because I'm like, which part do I talk about? What do I mention? But I do a number of things. I am an author. I am a public speaker. I speak and I train. And then social media. I do management, getting into influencing, and I do coaching as well.
Wow.
And then I pastor in my church.
So guys, big people here on the channel, pastors are in the house. Yeah. So, are you married?
I am. I am newly married. 6 months. Yeah, it will be 7 at the end of this month. So
you have to celebrate.
Fresh.
You have to celebrate every month.
Yes, before you reach 1 year, every month counts. Like on
does.
the 29th of every month, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes.
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So.
that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been, talking on Instagram, and I got to hear your story, and I thought, let's share it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you fear marriage?
So where do I start? I did. I feared it, and I think detested it.
Oh.
Yeah, like it was just something I didn't aspire to. So there's that thing about how they say, girls always dream of their
The
wedding and
wedding.
marriage and what. I remember when I was getting married, I sort of laughed at myself because people would ask me like, what? I'm like, I don't know what I want. Like I didn't have like this grand idea of deco in my head. I'm like, I want a good marriage.
That's all.
Yeah, because like where I had come from, I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. So I didn't, while other people were like, oh my God, my dream wedding this, my dream wedding this. Like I would participate in the conversations as a creative. Like in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if I was to do, maybe I would have this or whatever. But it was not a thing that I was serious about. I didn't like marriage. I didn't want to be involved in it because of the things that I'd seen.
Yeah, just tell us more about that.
Okay, so I grew up living with my mom and my stepdad. My parents were not married. I don't know what the story is. And I think they both sort of didn't want to tell me because they all have their own versions, and I guess not wanting to paint
Anyone
the other
dirty,
as a bad person or whatever. So I sort of ended up creating my own version of the story in my head. And I guess because of the fact that they were not married, I assumed the worst from the story. So that was like the first thing. It formed step number 1. I'm like, I don't know if I want this. So because of the things that I dealt with growing up when you have parents that are not together and all of those complications, I just sort of felt like I don't want to put children through this kind of thing, what. So I felt like,
it's not for me.
If I want to get into this thing, it's
Yeah.
not for me.
Yeah.
And then my mom and my stepdad were together, but they were also not married, like officially.
Yeah.
And from what I saw, it's like, it was working, they were happy, things were okay, at home we were okay, and all of that. So I felt like, what, this is okay. So I sort of decided that if at all I ever maybe finally decide to end up with a man, I would probably do it like this, because in my mind I was like, in case things get difficult, I can run at any time. Because also the idea of divorce was not okay with me.
Yeah.
I was like, I never, ever want to divorce. So I was like, maybe I'll just end up. And I don't like children like in that way, but I like them in the idea of like, it's something I've dreamed of. Like, I'm like, I think I want to have children and all of that. So I wanted children. I was like crafting plans in my mind of how I'll get the children.
Yeah, without the marriage.
Who is going to give me the children? What things like that. But marriage, I knew like it was a no-go area. So that's sort of how the story went because of the things that I'd seen. I'd seen people who were married, and besides like my parents, I knew of people who lived together and they were not, you know, married. And then I knew people who got married and divorced, and somehow there's that thing of what you focus on grows.
That's
so
true.
Because that's the mentality I had in my mind, I was constantly seeing, you know, married couples getting divorced on the internet, around me, what, all of that.
You're
and
like, it can't be me.
Yeah, I was like, me, I refuse to participate, I won't do it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I saw a few people that were living together and somehow making it work and all of that. So in my mind, I had sort of settled on the fact that, okay, yeah, I think I'll just find a person and we come up with some sort of working agreement and live together, and then
things will be
we'll figure it out from there.
And I think that's really, it's many people are going through that, because of the stories you're hearing, the people around you, everything is not working out. And it's so funny, the beautiful marriages, it's like people are not talking, but they're like, just in case things don't work, you know. So, and yet, and the negativity is the one that is around, so it becomes really complicated, because marriage is beautiful, it's from the Lord. So when we allow fear to come in, then we miss that beauty. So just tell us, how were you able to overcome it? You know, now that you're married, that means there's something happened. What
That's
happened?
the good news. So one of the things that happened for me, I didn't go to church for a long time. Then I eventually found a church. Someone invited me to a church. I go to a church called Worship Harvest. So I was invited, and one of the things that I found about that church is they celebrate marriage so much. So in the beginning, I was kind of like,
these guys.
I was like, these guys, as in, relax, cool your fire.
Don't
too much. Over. As in, but I think it's an intentional thing to show young people that marriage is good, it's nice, and it's whatever. So I went through that fighting process until I got to a place where I'm like, okay, Vanangi, at least go celebrate the ones that are married. So it was like a slow, progressive stage. But I started eventually seeing that, okay, I started paying attention to the couples now that were around me in the church space whose marriages were working. And then I had, you know, the opportunity to hear them maybe share their stories, things they were doing in their marriages, things they were doing to make it work. Then occasionally at church they would have maybe like a series on like love. So they talk about the love of God, love in marriage, love like the different forms of love and how to express it. So every time they talk about that, I'd start to hear things about how to make relationships work. So both marriage and like other relationships. So I started to see things working a little bit. And then one of the things that happened is I started to see why some of the marriages around me that failed. Because they would explain like certain key principles. You have to do this, you have to do that. I'm like, oh my God, these guys, I remember this thing. What? So I'm like, oh, okay. So then that started to give me the comfort of knowing that actually it's, I think, mostly a knowledge gap that makes us
fear.
Fear that brings the fear, because we are seeing so much around us and then we don't understand the things that can help marriage work and all of that. So just getting, you know, being around people, hearing, learning, all of that started changing my mind slowly. So it was a bit of a progression to first, accepting the marriages around me and celebrating them. I'm like, okay, let me celebrate at least. Be happy
for others.
So I started there.
Then
with time, I started to accept the idea that actually marriage is a good thing. I'm like, oh, actually, I guess marriage is a good thing. It's possible. It's what? I wasn't quite desiring it then, but I was no longer detesting it and in fear. And I think that's maybe because God was like, working something inside in the background, just doing his thing. And so I remember eventually it got to a time where I did start to desire marriage. I was like, actually, I think I'm ready for this marriage thing. Like, I feel like I have enough confidence in the fact that it works. I have enough, you know, starting knowledge on what to do to just make sure things are smooth and you're not like fighting and doing all these crazy things and whatever. So I started to desire it, and so for me, what I did is I asked. So I like it so much now. And sometimes someone said, I don't remember who it was, that usually the enemy attacks your point of purpose somehow, or that thing that's going to be like a good thing. So I feel like our marriage is meant to be like a point of, you know, something, like showing people something. So he attacked it before so that if I don't reach there,
it's a good thing.
Yeah, like now the thing has been cancelled like before, because as I started learning all these things, I like would read books, listen to people, discover, you know, all these things. So I am like always watching videos, what, all those things. So one of the things that I would hear a lot is that as you are praying to God for the one and the perfect person and all of that, also make sure that you
are the one. Please.
So that's the first thing I prayed for.
Repeat that.
As you're praying to God to help you identify the one and make sure that you get the perfect one, you also need to make sure that you are the one, the perfect one, the good one.
Because people focus on the other one. He must. What about you?
What about you?
Yeah.
And so I think God sort of just revealed that thing to me and taught me, like encouraged me to pray over it, which I think was laying a foundation for marriage, because in marriage you shouldn't focus on the other one, you focus on you,
because you're the one who has the power to change you.
What are you doing? You focus on how you are serving the other person, not how they are serving you or not serving you. So that's what I started to do. I started to pray over myself first. So I just would pray and I'm like, okay, God, help me be the perfect wife to my future husband. Help me remove the things in me that will weigh me down. When I get there, show me the things that I need to change and all of that. And so he started to show me different things. He would give me, some of the instructions were very weird, which have not even helped me so much now. It's just that thing of sometimes God tests our hearts. Like one of the instructions I received in the beginning days when I had started praying, the thing I felt was God was telling me, I want you to start washing the dishes at home.
At home?
Yeah, we had like someone at home. And I'm like, how is that connected to marriage? Like, what does that even mean?
He's preparing you for you.
Right? So I was like, anyway, Mnaga, you want to get married, you do that thing. So I would do it, which is interesting because now I don't wash dishes at home because we have help. So that's done. Like I'll do it very few times, but also my husband doesn't mind doing them. So if there's no one, he can't do them. So in my head, I'm like, as in, what was that about? But I think it was just that thing of God sort of testing your heart.
Are you willing? Are you ready to serve? You know. So on your journey of healing, you know, because I know that it's a journey of healing, you know, because you have something that is weighing you down and then you're setting yourself free. Did you have mentorship, and you know how did that go? You know, in trying to, yes, people were showing you marriages that are working, etc. But did you walk with some people on the journey?
So, the Bible says in Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That I can't remember how it ends. But that's the main part of the scripture. And so it's the thing about renewing your mind. To change something in your life, you need to renew your mind first. So like I said earlier, I really read a lot, watched a lot of videos and all of that. Then the thing that I did was, the pastors that I had around me, I was very intentional about it. They sort of mentored me, but not even intentionally. I was just very intentional about observing their marriage. I would pay attention. How does she speak to her husband? How does her husband speak to her? How do they talk about things? How do they what? So I would sort of pay attention to all these things and start to see, okay, this thing can work. I think a few times I witnessed like things where you can sort of see they've not agreed maybe on something, like this one thinks this one thinks this. No one has raised their voice. It hasn't become an argument. It hasn't become a thing. Just this one has presented. This one has presented.
No one is slapping. Please, guys.
Like just there is peace. No fights and fists and what in the air. So I paid attention to those things and started to see, oh, okay, this is how then I would approach it if I got into this situation. So it was for me just being intentional about being around people that were happily married and being around people that whose marriages I admired. And then one of the things that I did as well, I had not started dating, but I had started, you know, we were talking, my husband and I, and sort of like on that journey to dating or whatever. And then in that same season, I got the opportunity to, so the person who was my matron, runs a premarital course with her husband.
Oh, wow.
So they were looking for people to help them out. It's like 6 weeks. So they were looking for people to help them out, like just in the space, like, you know, helping, just serving drinks, helping people, just simple things like that. And I was available. I availed myself. So I would participate. So I did it with another friend of mine. So on that part where like you have breakaways and you're talking to your couple, me and my friend would just laugh. Then we talk to ourselves. We'll be like, tell me about yourself. Then me, I tell her. Then we just enjoy it, have a good time and all of that. But in that space, I was actually able to learn things. Then when I started dating, we signed up for the next one, my husband and I, to now be able to participate in the activities as girlfriend and boyfriend. So it's just, I think really being intentional and being in spaces where there are actually people going to help me grow, ask me questions, teach me things.
Amazing. So I just want to know, you know, when you met your husband then, did you share that fear of marriage, the history, you know, before and etc.? How did he respond, or, you know, and things like that?
That's a good question. Do I know the answer? We talked about it a little bit. I don't think I presented it as a fear, because it wasn't so much a fear. We just talked maybe a little bit about our background. So his parents were also married and then separated. So he told me a bit of his story. Then I told him a bit of mine, my dad, my mom, my stepdad, all of that. So it was just like life update, like this is where I've come from, this is where I've come from. But I think by the time we met and were now thinking about marriage, we had both reached a place of, I know that I can do this thing. I will trust God instead and follow his model and all of that. So we didn't talk about it at length from a place of what do we have to deal with. So I think we had both dealt with our things.
And that's very key, because so many times people enter marriage, you know, you start a family with baggage, you know, that you've not healed, and then because you see, hurt people are going to hurt others. So if you go into marriage when you've not healed, you have issues, your family, or your dad did what, or you know, and things like that, it's going to affect the quality of the marriage. So I think it's something that is very key that you guys need to note. So go through healing, you know, and embrace the beauty that is in marriage. All right, so what would you tell young people who are dating, you know, or who are fearing marriage? What can they do and to enjoy that, you know, to just step out in faith and enjoy it? Because we cannot control everything. Oh my God, what if he cheats? What if it didn't work? You know, and things like that. What would you say to them?
Yeah, so what I would say, one of the things I forgot to mention about the fear of marriage is also all the friends I had, that guys, okay, not all, but most of them were like, what's the word, like double dealing women, that kind of thing. Like they have this girl, but they're vibing that one, they have this,
like 3 chicks.
So I would see my friends, I'm like, me, they won't do those things to me.
I know.
So I just didn't want to associate with that. So I think the first thing to really help someone overcome that fear is mind your company. Because it matters so much. Because if you're spending your time around people who don't believe in marriage, who are sleeping with one person after the other, who think it's okay to date 10 people at the same time, who just, you know, are the acting opposite from the thing you actually want, you're going to continuously think that this is the way everyone is. Because your view of life is based on what you experience. So your company needs to be the very first thing that you change. You find people that
align.
That are aligned with that thing that you desire, aligned with the will of God, that are doing all those things. One of also the good places to start is social media. I started paying attention to the people I was following.
Because the one you have, the one who, what do they say? The one who you give your ear to is the one you become.
Oof, I like it. It's so deep. Oh yes, the one who you give your ear to is the one who you become. So the things that you watch on social media, the people you're paying attention to, they're influencing you, whether you know it or not. It's not only social media influencers that influence.
I know,
So all these people are influencing you in some way. So I had to start paying attention. I started by following like my pastors. I'm like, okay, let me see them, what they're up to. Then I followed, who are they following? Then you sort of follow those people. Then you what? So just being intentional about what you're allowing into your space. So if you follow and look out for people that are married and are doing it well and are sharing and all of that, then you eventually start to break away from those fears and have them dealt with, because you see that it's working for other people.
Yeah.
You're like, if it works for this one,
it can work.
It can work for me.
Yeah.
So I think that company is one of the biggest thing, and then that thing that I shared of renewing your mind. Yeah. So a company also can help you renew your mind, but just reading books, watching, you know, how other people do their things, listening to people. If you can find someone to walk with, like find a couple that you can just observe, or that can intentionally pour into you, or things like that, because then that will start to deal with the things in your heart and your mind about marriage, and help to break all those things away. So yeah, I think those would be the two things: company and
your mind,
knowledge, mind.
Yeah, feed
your
yourself.
mind.
Yeah, I think for me, what I can also share is, you know, I want first of all to tell people who are doing well in marriage, you know, rise up, tell your stories. You know, that's why I like bringing love stories on the channel, so that you hear and you know that this thing is actually possible. And I know the other thing that causes fear is, you know, we have no control over the other person.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is just trust God that I'm giving it my all, but also dating and choosing the right person is very key.
Yes.
Because so many times people waste that dating period because you're either rushing, I want to get married, and then you pick the wrong person. And now once you've picked the wrong person, all we can do is now pray and fast for you, because now you're already in that thing,
in it,
you
like
know?
That's it.
Yeah. So just tell me about your dating a bit, you know, like what did you do to ensure that dating was successful?
Okay. So one of the things is we were, you know, taught and had the opportunity to hear, you know, people talk about the importance of dating and what you should use it for. Yeah. That the dating period is for you. Basically, it's like an interview period. You're assessing if you and this person can actually do life together. Yeah. So someone joked and said, that's not the time to know favorite color, your favorite food, what. Not that it's bad, you can do that, but like that can be the only information you're getting in a dating relationship. Like you go home, you know their favorite color. Okay.
Then what?
Then what? Do you know how they react when they get mad? Yeah. Do you know what kind of things make them mad? Do you know where they want to be in the next 5 years? Like knowing that someone's favorite color is purple is not going to help you build a strong marriage. So the thing that we did was just really being intentional about the right things, asking the right questions. So I asked my husband, what do you want to do with your life? Where do you see yourself, like far off in the future, next 10 years, next 5 years? And he painted a picture for me of what that looks like.
Because you want to see if you can fit in.
Because you may find, I have a dream job of, I don't know, working in the UN and traveling the world, and my husband does not want to leave the country for more than 2 days ever. And for me, I'm going to be gone 6 months at a time. So you address those things. Is it something that you're willing to deal with? Will we be able to manage this long distance thing for life until we retire? Are we going to figure out how to make it work, or do we just allow and separate and say it's okay? Because I mean, a breakup is painful, whichever way you look at it, but the length of time matters. That if you break up after 4 months, it's easier to deal with than breaking up after you've done a wedding, you've been together for all this time.
I even tell people, even if, you know, because during counseling, we got some couples who say, you know what?
Let's leave
it's
it.
Better.
So
even at the altar, you'd rather say, I don't. Like, you know, than saying, oh my God, I'm going to embarrass the family. And then you enter something that is a covenant and they...
So I think that one of the things also that I had to learn was to understand the seriousness of marriage. So I really understood that you're standing before God and you're opening your mouth and you're saying all these things. For life, till death do us part. All that I have, I give to you.
All that I am,
I give to you. It's not just fancy words that we say. Like there is power in our words. So it was that thing of understanding. I'm going to go and I'm going to speak some words which carry weight.
So what does that I do mean?
To mean them. I need to know what it means. So just for us, the dating process was understanding, you know, purpose, seeing where we fit together, you know, asking certain questions. So knowing, okay, where are we going to live? Where are we going to, just sort of planning through, okay, when we start off marriage, what's it going to look like? Do you want to have children immediately? Do you want to wait a little bit? Do you want children at all? Because I know that also is a thing.
It's a problem these days.
I know a couple that ended up having to divorce after like 10 years because one person didn't want children at all. and the other person really wanted children, and they entered marriage hoping that this person
would change. Like, there is no way.
So that kind of thing. So I think number of children may not matter. That one you can always keep negotiating, but on whether they want to have children or not,
it's a discussion.
That's a big deal. Yeah, because if you really want children and the other person really doesn't want children, you just constantly be clashing. Like, it's such a big core thing. So we just had conversations like that, like thinking about, okay, what does a good marriage mean to you? What does it mean to me? So what then will we do to make it, get like that? And so asking all those important critical questions to help us figure out if we'll actually enjoy this thing and have a good time and listen to each other and love each other, and just cutting fights as much as possible. Like, you cut them ahead of time. So we're not going to fight about children. If we're having children or not, we're not going to fight about where to stay. We are not going to fight about, things like that. So just dealing with the key core things, having conversations on those, and then working with people. So we did that premarital course, then we did pre-marriage counseling.
Oh, wow.
With different sets of people. So it was like overload of information. Because you want to prevent the problems rather than have them and deal with them.
So prepare. So I've got a lot from this. Renew your mind, the environment you have around you. Who are you listening to? Who is speaking into your life? Go through the journey of healing, because I think going back to who is the author of marriage, the source, and that is God. So always, turning back and knowing that it's God and you're going to trust him. You can't change your person, you can't, control everything, but you're going to serve, you're going to do your best and hope and believe that it's going to work. It has to work. It has to. All right, so are you enjoying marriage?
I am. And I think because of the preparation I got, I'm enjoying it, because I don't have all these crazy demands in my head and expectations. Like, I'm just living life with my friend. We are doing this thing, learning about each other, having a good time, enjoying ourselves. It's really fun. I think that if you do it the right way, marriage is actually really fun.
You guys, marriage is beautiful. I kid you not. I think I'm 6 years into marriage now, and I can testify.
I'm coming.
Please. I can testify that marriage is beautiful. Have no fear. Trust in God, and it will just be amazing. I hope you've enjoyed this session. Thank you, Marley, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Let us know in the comment section, what was your journey like? Did you ever fear marriage, and how did you overcome? My name is Kusiima, and as always, I'm here to inspire.